All right, so we've got 2 chapters left, 9 and 10, and both of these chapters have to do with geometry. So today we're going to be talking about, please don't be like that. We're going to talk about circles and circumference, okay? Here we go. Go ahead and write these vocab words down. All right, so here we go. Some vocab that we need to know about the circle, all right? The distance from the center to any point on the circle is considered the radius. So as you can see right here, to the edge is a radius, okay? There are other places. You could have drawn it from here to there, okay? That's also a radius. You could have drawn it from here to there. That's also a radius. The thing that makes it a radius is because it's from the center to any point on a circle, okay? Now let's look at the word diameter. Is the word diameter longer or shorter, the actual word, than radius?
Yes, longer. Yeah.
It's a little longer, okay? Look right here. This is a shorter word. This is a longer word. So if that helps you, diameter is the longer part of the circle. It's the distance through, it's across the circle through the entire center. So notice this right here. That entire thing is the diameter, okay? I could have cut the diameter a different way. I could have cut the diameter in half this way, okay? Do you see the difference between a radius and a diameter? Which one is longer? Diameter. The diameter is double the radius, okay? So if you look right here, this is the radius. If I doubled that and kept going, what would that be called?
Diameter.
The diameter, okay? So that is the difference between a radius and a diameter. Next up is the word circumference. Everyone say circumference.
Circumference.
This is the distance around the circle. So it's kind of like perimeter, but it's for a circle. So if I wanted to know how long this right here was, that would be my circumference. Basically, if I had a ruler that was bendy, it would go around the outside of a circle, and that's called the circumference. Now, there are 2 formulas that you can use for circumference. Repeat after me. C equals pi times diameter.
C equals pi times diameter.
Or you could do C equals 2 times pi times r. Say that. C equals 2 times pi times r. Now, this really makes sense if you think about it, because if I were to take, this is 1 radius right here, but 2 radiuses equals a diameter, right? So 2 times r technically is 1d, okay? So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit today. But the last thing that I want you to understand is this little word right here. Everyone say pi.
Pi.
When you're making it kind of like this. It's like a squiggle line with 2 lines coming down. That's what pi is. Now this is a Greek number. Does anyone know what it stands for? 3.14, okay? Now this is actually a very famous irrational number. Does anyone know what irrational means? It's a number that goes on and on and on forever and never ends. So here's what I want you to do, because this is what it says. Pi can be 3.14 or it can be 22 over 7. I want you to put that in your calculator. 22 divided by 7. Guys, what comes out? Guess what that is? That's irrational, because it keeps going on and on and on forever, okay? So basically, whenever we say 3.14, guess what I've done to that? I've rounded the number. I just got rid of this. So anytime you use pi, you could say it is about that answer, okay? Do you guys understand those little squiggle lines mean about? All right, so instead of equals, it means about, like that. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is a semicircle. So a semicircle is half of a regular what? Circle, okay, very good. So what you'll see here is a formula. We know the formula for finding circumference around an entire circle is C equals pi times D. But if I don't want to know a whole circle, I want to know a half circle, all you have to do is divide by 2. And that's how you get the formula right here for a semicircle. The first thing we're going to be doing here is finding the radius. Remind me again, guys, which one is bigger, the radius or the diameter?
Diameter.
The diameter. Okay, so if you look at your notes for radius, at the very edge, we've got some a little formula there. What does the little formula say next to radius?
Diameter.
Okay, the diameter divided by 2. So go ahead and start off with our formula right here. The radius is the diameter divided by 2, or the diameter that's going to be cut in half. So this right here, guys, is that giving me the diameter or the radius? It gives me the long thing all the way across. So what's that called? The diameter is the long one, guys, okay? So r equals, what's my diameter?
20 feet.
20 feet divided by 2. Guys, what's 20 divided by 2? 10. So my radius is 10 feet. Thank you. You always got to make sure you got units attached. Now, does that make sense? Yes, because look right here. This all the way across is 20. If I wanted the radius, that would just be from the center to the edge. What's half of 20? 10. So that's how we got the radius. Let's go on to the next one. This one just has words, not a picture. The diameter is 16 centimeters. So let's start with our little formula. R equals D divided by 2. What do I know? My diameter or my radius? Diameter. So I'm going to put R equals, what's my diameter?
16.
16 divided by 2. Guys, what's half of 16?
8.
8. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so listen, tonight's homework, when you get to a problem like this, if you can tell just by looking at that diameter what the radius is, you do not have to show me all of this work. If you can't figure it out, then you can use the formula. Okay, so let's just do a couple just out loud. Put your pencils down. If I said that the diameter was 100, what would my radius be? 50. If I said my diameter was 40, what would my radius be? 20. Last one. If I said my diameter was 2, my radius is?
1.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now we're going to do just the opposite. Find the diameter. If you look in your notes, you circled in red D equals 2R. So we're going to go ahead and start off with that. D equals 2R. What does it mean when the 2 is next to the R? You're multiplying by 2, okay? So I am looking for the diameter. It tells me right here what the radius is, because it's just from the center to the edge. Guys, what's the radius? 7. So I'm going to do 2 times 7. Guys, what's 2 times 7?
14.
14. Does that make sense?
No. Wait, yes.
Yes. So we've got 14 meters. Notice this is why. If this is 7, if I were to continue all the way across, this would be 7 more. So what's 7 plus 7?
14.
And that's the exact answer you got right there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The radius is 5.5 yards. What's the formula I'm using now because I want to find the diameter? Okay, D equals 2 times R. All that means is we're doubling what we have there. Now, since we are allowed to use calculators, I hope you can do this in your head, but if you couldn't, what is a half as a decimal? 0.5. So here, instead of saying 2 times 5.5, I can say 5.5. Okay, so what is 5.5 doubled?
11.
11 what?
Yards.
Okay, 11 yards. So let's do a couple now that are not here. If I told you that the diameter all the way across was 60, what's the radius?
30.
30. Now let's flip it. If I told you that the radius was 25, what's my diameter? 50. Very good. So the main thing you got to remember is radius is the smaller distance, diameter is double. Okay, it's going to be double what that distance is. Next up, we're going to find the circumference. I want you to look before you turn your notes and read to me what the definition is for circumference.
Distance around the circle, C equals pi times D, or C equals 2 times pi times R.
Okay, so there's two formulas here for the circumference of the circle. Remember, that means the distance around it. If I had a bendy ruler or a bendy yardstick and I was going to measure around a circle, I would use this, okay? It's basically the word perimeter around a circle. So I could use C equals pi times D, or I can use C equals 2 times pi times R. Remember, this makes sense because 2R is the same thing as what? D, okay? So here we go. Let's look at this. My goal right now is to find the distance around this little circle right here. If I'm finding the distance around that, which formula do you think I'm going to use over here? The one that has given me diameter or the one that has given me a radius? A radius. Notice because right here it tells me what the radius is. So guys, what's the formula I want to start with?
C equals 2 pi times R.
Okay, C equals 2 times pi times R.
Okay, I found this on the web for equals 2 times.
Sorry about that. All right, so next up, we've got, it says in my instructions, use 3.14 for pi. So instead of saying 2 times pi, I'm going to say 2 times, what's pi? Thank you. 3.14 times, do we know what our radius is?
No. 5 inches.
5. It's right here from the center to the edge. It tells me right there what the radius is. So times 5. All right, when you multiply those together, guys, what's the circumference?
31.4
31.4 what? Inches. So basically, the distance around that little red circle is 31.4 inches. All right, let's go ahead and do a different example. As you can see over here, it says we are going to use 22 divided by 7 for pi. Okay, so remember 22 over 7 is another way to say 3.14. All right, so let's go ahead and plug this in. Looking at this, if it says this is all the way across, is that the diameter or the radius? That's the diameter. So what is the formula for starting off finding circumference using diameter?
The first one. C equals pi times diameter.
C equals pi times diameter. All right. Kalani, what am I plugging in for my pi? 22 over 7. Elena, what is my D for diameter? 28 millimeters. Now, guys, what number can I put underneath that 28?
1.
A 1, because 28 over 1 means 28, okay? Is there anything I can cross-reduce?
Yes.
Yes, the 7 and 28, what do they become?
1 and 4.
1 and 4, okay? So here's why you would want to use this 22 over 7. If the number that we are multiplying by is divisible by 7, that's when you want to use 22 over 7 instead of 3.14, because we can now do this without using our calculator. Guys, what's 22 times 4?
88.
88. So the answer is the circumference is 88 what? Millimeters. Okay, so that means the distance around the clock right here, oops, is 88 millimeters. All right, for this next problem, it's asking us to find the perimeter of the semicircle. Describe to me, guys, what's the difference between a circle and a semicircle? Okay, circle is a whole circle, semicircle is cut in half, okay? So we're going to use that information to help us here in just a minute. But ask me to find the perimeter of the semicircle region. And remember, we've written in here, the distance around the outside of an object is the perimeter, okay? So I am looking for how much this whole thing right here is, that distance, okay? So let's start off with finding the circumference of a circle. Guys, actually first, is this my diameter or my radius? It's the diameter. So what is the formula for finding circumference using diameter? C equals pi times D. Now guys, that's for a whole circle. If I don't want a whole circle, I want a half, I'm going to divide it by 2. So this is our formula. C equals pi times D divided by 2. And what that is going to do is it's going to give me the distance around just the outside of the circle. That has nothing to do with this part right here. I am just looking for that yellow part that I've highlighted for right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in what we know. C equals pi. What do you think I should do for pi right now? 3.14 or 22 over 7? Let's do 3.14 because why would I want to put a fraction inside of another fraction? Okay, so most of the time if it doesn't ask me, I'm just going to stick 3.14 because that's real simple to put into my calculator. Times D. What is the diameter? 6. And I still have to divide it by 2 because that is a half of a circle. Guys, do you see anything that I can reduce there?
2 and 6.
The 2 and the 6, what do they become? 1 and 3. Okay, that just makes it easier. Now I don't have to really divide anything. All I have to do is just multiply the top right here. When you do that, guys, what is the circumference?
9.42.
All right, so we've got 9.42 what?
Meters.
Meters. Now, is that the perimeter?
No.
No, you know what we just found right there?
Circumference.
We found this, just the distance around the circle. But listen, that's a very important piece. So what we're going to do is we're not going to box it because it's not my final answer, but we are going to circle it because that's a piece of our answer. Let's go back to the instructions where we drew a red fluffy cloud around the instructions. Perimeter equals C plus D. Guys, what do you think C plus D is?
Circumference plus diameter.
Circumference plus the diameter. All right, so listen, for perimeter, I have to add together the circumference and the diameter. So guys, we just found the circumference. What's the circumference?
9.42.
9.42 plus, what was the diameter?
6.
6. Remember, this right here is our diameter. All you got to do is add it together, and then that will give us the perimeter not just around there, but all the way around the semicircle. What do we get, guys? 15.42 meters is correct, and that is how you find the perimeter around a semicircle. Okay, let's go ahead and do another example. Does this give me the radius or the diameter?
Radius.
It's going to give me the radius. We are trying to find first the circumference around this area. Did I have given to me the radius or the diameter?
Radius.
Radius. So what is the formula for finding circumference with using the radius?
C equals 2 times pi times r.
Okay, 2 pi r. Now, I don't want the entire circle. I only want half of it. So what do I have to do to that formula? Divide it by 2. Because once again, I don't want the distance around an entire circle. I only want it around the semicircle, the half circle. Okay? So let's start plugging some things in. C equals 2 times, what should I plug in for pi?
3.4.
3.14 times, what is my radius?
15 inches.
15 inches, divided by what? Do you guys see anything there that can cancel out?
Yes.
What?
2 inches.
The 2's, what do they become?
1.
1, so it's basically like they're not there. Okay, so now we can go ahead, multiply those together. Guys, what's the circumference?
47.1.
47.1 what?
Meters.
Oh, inches. All right, is that my final answer?
No.
No, we're going to circle it because it's an important piece. Now look, what we just found right there was this yellow part, the semicircle. So now I've got to add the semicircle plus the what?
The radius.
Not the radius.
Diameter.
The diameter. I'm trying to find how far around this entire semicircle it is. So we've got kind of an extra step to do here. If we know 15 is our radius, what's our diameter? 30. So let's just write that right here so we understand. It's just doubled, 30 inches. Okay, so now we're going to write what we're trying to figure out. Up here it says this is how we find perimeter, C plus D. So we're going to go ahead and write perimeter equals C plus D. That's the circumference plus the diameter. So what did we decide our circumference was?
47.1.
Yep, it's right there, 47.1. And then we have to add now what our diameter is right there. Okay, it is 30. If you add those together, then you are going to find the entire distance around this whole semicircle right there. What was it, guys?
77.1 inches.
77.1 inches. Now, should that be squared inches? No, because you only square when you're finding the area. Perimeter is just the distance around, so it's just plain old inches. All right, guys, we're going to see how you guys did on this one. Does this give me diameter or radius? Diameter. Okay, so listen. I think sometimes why people groan at the idea of geometry is there's a lot of different formulas to memorize, okay? So one formula we want to know is the circumference of a circle. What is the circumference of a circle using diameter?
C equals pi times D.
Excellent. Now we're going to divide by 2 because it's a half of a circle. So guys, what am I going to use for pi?
3.14.
What's my diameter?
2.
Divide it by 2 because it's a semicircle. What can I cancel out?
2.
Both those 2's become 1. So what am I left with?
3.14.
All right, so the circumference is 3.14 feet. Remember, I'm going to go ahead and just draw a circle around that. And remember, all we have said right here, you just found that this right here is 3.14 feet. Now, if you remember, this is why this makes sense. I want to know the perimeter all the way around. So doesn't it make sense that for perimeter, I'm simply going to take the circumference, the yellow part that's curved, and add the diameter, this part down here. So we simply do 3.14 plus what? 2. What's your answer? 5.14 feet. And that is how you find the perimeter of a semicircle. Any questions? All right, how many of you and your partner, you got that correct? Great job. So tonight you have 9 homework problems over section 9.1. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and work on that now.